certificates. People will be going back to refreshers. Reminder for all ALS providers that they need to also credential with the council. All right, so have your agency managers upon completion of your credentialing, or once again your re-credentialing with New York State, contact us so that we can assist you with the process and get all of our ALS providers properly credentialed into our system. Council membership, just a reminder, once again, we are starting to once again look at council membership. There is a bylaw that requires you to make a certain number of council meetings throughout the year. We only have 6. All right. So please make sure that you sign in on the sign-in sheets and try to make as many meetings as possible so that we can get a quorum and be able to properly conduct business at these meetings. As far as field inspections also, all right, it's come down from the Bureau of EMS, and all agencies should be aware that all EMS vehicles must be locked and secured at all times when left unattended. That includes at hospital destinations. So if you're running as a 2-man crew, make sure that your vehicles are locked and secured, and also that all ALS supplies are locked and secured when the agency is operating only in a BLS, as a BLS unit. All right, so they must once again be separated, and they must be locked and secured as the inspectors once again are going around and finding agencies leaving their vehicles unattended and unlocked. Last couple of things, the Nassau EMS committee, once again, the EMS committee that's met for the last 18 months. This report has been submitted by Chairman and Chief Fire Marshal Utaro to the Nassau County Administration for review, and we're currently awaiting a response on the EMS sustainability as well as regional EMS improvements regarding that. We hope to have a meeting within the next month to once again review the final documentation on the report that went to the county executive as well as the deputy county executive of public safety. And once again, we'll see what their response and stuff is with that. The Disaster Planning Committee, I would like to once again thank a host of people that have been involved in this over the last 12 months. As you know, we had a meeting on August 25th, once again, to roll out the disaster plan that has been put together by multiple different participants throughout the county. Once again, I'd like to recognize the following individuals that were involved in this. Christopher Airy, Director of Emergency Ambulance Bureau, Nassau County Police Department. Lieutenant Robin Connolly, the Commanding Officer of the Homeland Security, Nassau County Police Department. Michael DiPartolo's here with us today, once again. He's the Vice Chairman of the Emergency Management Committee, Nassau County Fire Commission. Kevin O'Hara, once again, is the Chairman of the Disaster Planning Committee, and once again, the person who put many of these people together once again to once again take on this tough task. Michael Etzel, an emergency management specialist with Office of Emergency Management. Zachary Goldfarb, here to my right, once again, he's the chairman of the Emergency Management Committee for the Nassau County Fire Commission. Don Hudson, our EMS coordinator from the Nassau County Office of Fire, Chief of Fire Marshal. And once again, also I'd like to thank Commissioner Corbin, who from the Office of Emergency Management, who attended our meeting and the rollout of this disaster plan on August 25th. Under reports, once again, I'm sure Chairman O'Hara will explain more in detail about the disaster plan. I know it was sent down to all council members for review, and we will discuss that also under new business. You said it's a living document. The last plan was, to the best of our ability, once again, was rolled out in 1995. It's 28 years old. It is a living document. It will be amended as needed, and once again, will be updated also as needed. And it, once again, will put a plan into place which we currently do not have. So under new business, we will look at it. We'll take any questions that you may have, And once again, we will look to adopt this into not only the policies and procedures of the council, but also into the Nassau County Emergency Management Plan that currently is being developed within the Office of Emergency Management. So more to come on that. Last but not least, once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Newbert. The RSI program, as well as the BLS iGel pilot program, is moving along well. We have multiple agencies, I believe probably close to 20 now, in the iGel pilot program for EMTs. And the training has been ongoing through the Fire Police Academy to get those agencies the training necessary in order to participate in that. As far as the RSI program, Dr. Newman, I'm sure we'll have something on that. We are once again developing the committee to make sure that we do it in a way that once again it makes the committee once again sustainable, and also to make sure that we are not cutting corners when rolling this out. So more to come once again with Dr. Newbert with that. And that's pretty much all I have. Sorry for once again.
Donald Hudson for $544 for REMSCO repayment going up to the state. Charles Mackey for REMSCO award ceremony for $320.60. Domain Networks for REMSCO domain name for $289. The Hartford got a check for $451.58 for the council's insurance. And a check was made to Thomas Mestacourse for $149.90 because our Zoom account was in his name, and we're taking care of fixing that. I apologize, I do not have the balances of our bank accounts because it was locked online. I have to go to the web page tomorrow and correct that. I promise I'll have a report next month. I'll need a motion on the new business to accept it. Questions?
Any questions, Vice Chairman or Treasurer? Okay, we'll move on to council committee reports. Under the Executive Council, we met at 1 o'clock today. Most of the stuff that came up during the Executive Council has pretty much been brought to you through my report. E-Bridge seems to be moving along, which are some minor hiccups we're working on. Once again, tying up any loose ends and stuff with that. As you said, your radio is still available if there is communications issues regarding that. But once again, all ALS calls or ALS requests must go through medical control in order to be approved and to be given out by the doctors for that. REMAC, Dr. Cheerson or Dr. Cooper?
So, thank you. I'm going to be quick. Just I'm separating out the different committees. So for REMAC, a summary was there was approval of 2 additional agencies for the New York State BLS iGel. There was a transition in the Seacliff Fire Department to change medical directors. That was approved. The RSI Foundational Committee was transitioned into the RSI, but RIS, sorry. Operational Committee with the minimum membership, including 5 positions and 5 clinicians. As well as any agency in the region that wants to participate in RSI must have the medical director on the committee. If you're met, that's minimum standard. I think that was all the substantive business that occurred at the REMAC, as well as other informational stuff that was provided.
Good, thank you. I made one mistake. Once again, I'd like to revert back once again to reports. Once again, State EMS Representative Coordinator Report, Donald Hudson.
State meetings are next week, so we'll be heading up Monday. We'll be back Wednesday, so they're televised. Anyone that wants anything brought up, let me know. See what happens.
All right, thanks, Don. All right, we'll move on to communications. Karen Carroll. Communications. Excuse me. Disaster planning. Kevin O'Hara.
Okay, as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, the committee is happy to report that we have put together what we feel is our final document. And we forwarded to a special committee, a special meeting on August 25th, which was open to all the council members, as well as anybody who dialed in. And we had a lot of feedback back and forth, pretty positive with that. With that in mind, we put together our final document and it went out public, I guess, right? It went out on the EMS coordinators report on the REMSCO 2, available for people to look at and to give comments. We did receive, a few comments back, some very positive comments, some changes we had to make. I hate to say some grammar changes, but, some in theory, some things that were very positive. We implemented those. And we now have what we feel is a final document that we'd like to bring forward to the REMSCO here. As you said, it's a live document, okay? You can't publish something that's 78 pages and say this never has to change. But one thing I know is things have changed over 27 years, which was the first time that, this county had a document. So with that, I think it's something that should go forward to this council. Should get voted on, hopefully. And again, I believe we also have a meeting next week. Am I right, Zach? Or in 2 weeks? Committee, one more, just to fine tune a few things, in mind, based on comments that we received. And again, this document is out there live, so people do have comments or ideas or things that should be incorporated. With that, it would probably have to go to training and education, I believe, to put together some type of a training program so we could get that out for our EMS agencies, fire, first responders. But it was well thought of plan put together, and I'm happy to report fire, EMS, okay, and the PD, Office of Emergency Management, our health department, county people, all put together their heads and put this document together. So I'd like to submit that to the membership here, and hopefully something that can go forward with.
Okay, great. And like I said, I'd like to introduce Zach Goldfarb. Once again, he was brought on by Kevin. We had a wealth of emergency management people on that. It would be for the police department, the fire commission, the other agencies, REMSCO. And I'd just like to once again let Zach, he was the primary author. Once again, that culminated a lot of the stuff that was brought to by the committee, including Mike, Jimmy, Chris, and once again was able to, through his background and stuff in emergency management, was able to once again decipher all this and be able to put it into a cohesive unit. As we said, this is not the final document. It will be amended from time to time based upon need. And this is not, once again, this is an adoption of the policy and procedure. Once again, it's not the implementation of the policy and procedure. It still needs to be, once again, brought out by the training and ed. We need to get it out to all of our new providers, as well as our providers that are recertifying, as well as the agencies, the fire service itself, because they will become involved in this. The last plan that came out some 28 years ago, EMS really, if you look at the document itself, was kind of an afterthought. It was added on it was a police and fire document. It also encompasses in parentheses EMS operations. This once again will solidify what are our requirements or what our policies are, framework. This is a framework of how that policy and procedure was put together. I'd just like to let Zach speak a couple of minutes, because once again, he was able to take all of this information and be able to put it into a cohesive framework for us to be able to document that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here, and Mr. Chairman and Mr. Committee Chairman, thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with a great group of people to put this plan together. So I just would like to make a few comments if I could. First of all, important to stress that this was as inclusive a process, I think, as we were able to make it, with a lot of thought given to what does inclusive mean in the context of our EMS response community here in Nassau County. So as Kevin mentioned, it included police and fire and EMS providers. There are some entities that will be included, I think, in the next round or in the next phase, because, you know, inclusive is inclusive, but you have a committee of 50 people and you can't really get any work done. So I think a reasonable compromise was put together in terms of who's participating. And then the inclusion was extended further by publishing the document as a draft, making it available and asking for comment and feedback from anybody who cared to do that. And I know Lisa sent it out to, I think, all the EMS provider agencies in the county. I know it was disseminated through the fire commission to the fire chiefs in the county and the battalions. I don't know what dissemination may have happened on the police end, but hopefully it was disseminated there as well. We had emergency management commissioner was here at our rollout presentation in support of the document. We received a few comments, and when I say a few, I want to say 5 to be specific. So of all the EMS providers in the county, 5 people saw fit to provide comment in a formal way. There were a number of informal, looks great, thank you, very good, but a number of people really, I think, gave very thoughtful and deliberate feedback comments. We have compiled all those comments into a review document. When I say all those comments, it's not 100, but maybe it's 20 overall points to discuss. Most of them are important, but not structural in terms of changing anything that would, in fact, none of them are really structural. Most of them are nuance or language or a couple of errata picked up, or some content to be included. So all of that will be included in the final version of the document, but none of them really change anything of structure or of operational procedure or process. So there is certainly some work to be done going forward with this, and so it's final, not final, because there's always going to be some future development. For example, some of the communications issues, which communications is so important to making this plan effective and bringing it to life. Some of the communications issues rely on things that are beyond the scope of us writing it or this committee reviewing it or anything like that. But they go to structural issues. For example, rollout of new technologies in the county. For example, the ability of every participating agency to communicate on set frequencies, and who has that and who doesn't have that, and when will they have it, and who will talk on what channel. These are issues that are still going to need to be addressed. There's an expression that perfect shouldn't be the enemy of good. I think that some of these issues, who knows, maybe they'll never get addressed. But right now we have nothing. And so it's really important for us as a county EMS entity to have a baseline, to have a standard, to have a standard operating procedure that we can set as a goal or as a template or a model for anyone to look at to say, okay, I don't know anything about MCIs. What do I do? Well, here we have something to look at. Okay, well, I want to train my my fire department in MCI response. What do I use as a baseline? Well, here we have a baseline. Over time, it's the committee's belief, if I could say that on behalf of the committee, over time, it's the committee's belief that we will move as an EMS entity en masse. We will move toward a full implementation of this. Will it happen instantly or immediately? Of course not. It will take time, it will take training, it will take evolution, Hopefully along the way, of course, we don't want anything bad to happen ever, but along the way, things will happen and we will either use these procedures and be able to review and evaluate them, or we won't use them. And we'll look back and say, why didn't we use the procedures and what can we do to improve it? Which actually leads me to one point, one reviewer sent us that I just want to talk about if I could, which was a question, again, by an astute reviewer, and all our reviewers were astute. Astute reviewer who said, why should we have it that in our definition, more than 2 ambulances are required for the response as a criteria point. So I just want to talk about the definition and the thresholds just for a moment, because that's really important for us as the Regional EMS Council to understand and appreciate. We spent a lot of time, in fact, in our earliest meetings, we started off with defining what is an MCI, what is a multi-casualty incident, because obviously if we're preparing a plan for response to something, we need to know what something is. And we talked about how we could craft a definition. And of course, as I speak to a room full of EMS providers, we all know that there's a classic definition of MCI. A disaster is something that exceeds your resources. And of course, as practicing responders and providers, we know that that's an awesome theoretical definition and completely useless to a responder who pulls up at a scene and sees whatever they see and has absolutely no picture in their mind, or very little real picture of the right now of what are my available resources. So it's a nice theoretical definition. So when you come to a practical definition, what's a practical definition? You need a number. You need to be able to count and say, bing, 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 bing. All right, I'm hitting a threshold. I'm hitting a marker so that I have a trigger. Now, of course, EMS providers are bright people. And if they count 5 people or 8 people and all of them are, have a scratch on their finger, then this is not anything worth implementing an MCI protocol for. We would understand that and we're not going to implement it. So why do we make this threshold low? The reason why we make the threshold low is twofold. Number one, because you have to have a starting place somewhere, and your starting place should be low enough so that you're not too far down the road to recover from and start implementing emergency procedures if you get further. So if you made that number 20 patients, 30 patients, 50 patients, first of all, we would never or seldom will we have a situation that achieves that. And second of all, by the time we rolled up enough resources to be starting to look at 20 patients, we'd already be too far down the road to sort of recall and say, all right, let's pull back, let's set up a staging, let's put medical branch in place or put incident command in place. It's too far gone. The second and really important reason is that if we set a threshold of 20 or 15 or some other number, some higher number, then we will ensure that for the most part, most of our EMS providers in the county will never experience an incident like that. Meaning they will never have the opportunity to implement these procedures, meaning they'll never get familiar with it, comfortable with it, confident with it, competent in it. By setting a threshold low, and by the way, it doesn't cost us anything to set the threshold low. There's no price to be paid for that. By setting the threshold low, it almost ensures that most of our EMS providers, with some level of frequency, maybe once or twice a year, but occasionally we'll have the opportunity to interact with an event like that. Some of our EMS providers will interact with that much more frequently. For example, our field supervisors from the AB, they're responding to incidents like this. I don't know if it's every day, but certainly probably every week they encounter something that has 5 patients or something like that. So they become, if you will, our body of expertise. Maybe our busier EMS agencies might encounter that more frequently. But this way, we develop some experience, some competence, some familiarity with our procedures, and we can advance our programs and move forward. And again, there's no cost, there's no downside to having that number low. It lets us practice our procedures, which will ensure that if and when we have a large scale incident, an actual big one, as they say, we're going to do these procedures because we will have done them many times before. I can absolutely assure you, and this is, let's just say, decades of experience with this stuff speaking, that if we set our thresholds high and save this for the big one, I promise you we will never implement these procedures for the big one. It won't happen. We'll do for the big one what we do every day. And that's precisely why we want our everyday thresholds to be low. One more point on it. More than 2 ambulances, what does that mean? It's because sometimes we have more than 2 ambulances. Well, when you have an ambulance and then a second ambulance on a response, whatever that incident is, they usually coordinate very well and they figure out what they're going to do. And you're going to this hospital, you're going to that hospital, whatever it is, and off they go. once you start involving more than a couple of ambulances, you start to have coordination needs, whether it's determining bed availability or prioritizing patients for transport or assigning resources, sharing resources, whatever it is. So that makes it a logical threshold to say this is a point where someone should be in charge, where we should be thinking medical branch, our incident command procedures. Maybe the incident will get bigger, maybe it won't get bigger, but this is a good threshold to start with. And I will say that I've seen this tried and true, this process, these metrics, this work well in EMS systems, large and small. It's an effective metric. So that's why we got to those numbers. So I wanted to talk, that's probably the most significant point that one of our providers was pointed out. Everything else was helpful. We made a number of changes for those of you, and I don't want to name names, but you know who you are, who actually took the time to send us an email, give us some documentation, make some suggestions. A lot of that we incorporated, made if there's language changes or nuance changes, we put them in and you'll see them in the next version. And we appreciate everybody. And by the way, I don't think it's too late for someone to have a comment or an opinion and send it forward. So if anybody cares to do that, we'll continue to incorporate it. We have a version of the document. We're incorporating all the changes. We'll have it. I think it's a very transparent process. Anybody wants to look at that. And, you know, we'll continue, and then we're going to review them a week from Friday. We're going to sit down and review all the changes. So folks will have had basically close to a month to give us review and feedback. So I think, Mr. Chairman, his program is ready to go forward. This policy is ready for implementation. And I would encourage all EMS providers to embrace it and figure out how to make it work, because this is a solid policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zach. Once again, just thank you to everybody that's on this committee. As I said, I sat in on most of the committee meetings, and once again, they're all experts in their field. And this framework that we're putting together, once again, we're looking to adopt it once again, and then work to implement it in the future. All right, but once again, we need to have a plan in place in order to be able to implement for our system to move forward. Does anybody have any other questions on that? Yes.
It's not a question. It's, I'd like to, again, thank the committee for their hard work and their due diligence. Speaking with Kevin earlier, the executive meeting prior to, and the ideas that we brought forward with the different disciplines that we might want to utilize this document. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this for implementation.
All right, we'll take a motion on the new business on that. We'll take any comments. Or once again, anybody have any questions under there? But we'll come back to that, Frank. I appreciate it. And like I said, this is a living document. It will be updated, and we will bring in other areas of expertise and stuff in order to be able to address those issues in the document for those specialized units and stuff with that. Continue moving on. Education and training at Walter.
Education and training, the Bureau of EMS is reporting that they are backlogged due to staffing. Their summer staff is departed. They didn't expect the surge for the end of summer certifications and recertifications that happens every single year. CMEs are taking up to 6 weeks to get your cards. So for your memberships and your providers, please make sure they're putting their certifications in earlier. And there's been delays in students getting notified to test because of their backlog. So next week's the state meetings. I'm sure Don will be more than happy to tell everybody about it when he gets back. That's it.
All right, thanks.
So one thing for Ed and Don, the CME agreements between the schools, agencies, and the some of the agencies have just recently changed their EMS from department to district. We had a problem with Bethpage in particular, had a problem with getting guys recertified because it was the old number that we had down. Do we have to have new agreements between all the academies now with the updated number, or don't you guys go with the numbers? You just go with Bethpage Fire Department, Fire District, or whatever?
It depends on what's on your MOU. If you have a department and now they're a squad or whatever, and it changes what their actual title is, then the MOUs have to be updated.
Okay, so I'll be contacting you for some new MOUs.
Any other questions? All right, legal and governmental affairs, Dr. Putin. Public education and REMSCO awards, Frank Chester. What? EMS systems, Chris Airy.
He's not here, but he sent an email that the major changes involving secret was completed and implemented, and that there was ongoing filling in the vacancies by Malcolm exiting.
Okay. Membership, as I said, Robin Trott is excused today. She's taken over for Thomas Durfee as the membership chairman. Today we'll take nominations and stuff for executive board. So once again, I believe Barry, you might once again taking nominations and stuff today for that. And once again, if you are up as of December 31st, please get your CVs and your constituency letters and stuff in, email them to us so that we can get them to the membership committee so that we're ready for November with that. The hospital emergency department, Dana Cortopasco.
Hi, just moving along with E-Bridge, making sure that all of our sites and our frontline teams are trained, exposed to the product. We did receive some feedback that some sites may not have the equipment needed, i.e. external speakers, so it was making it a little bit challenging to give you alerts. So we'll put together a recommended equipment list. Again, it's not absolutely necessary, but may make the process a little bit easier. And then lastly, end of September, early October, we're looking to have another hospital leadership meeting looking at diversion, redirection, and best practice for improving meal times.
Great, thank you very much. All right. Anything else under hospital emergency department? Questions? All right, subcommittees, once again, the REMSCO REMAC tag is once again, at the current time, once again, has not had any meetings. We're still waiting for the county to come down with their final draft and report to the administration. And they will once again look at other issues and stuff involving both REMSCO and REMAC to bring to the administration as needed. RSI committee, Dr. Newbert, Dave Caldor.
I have no report. Well, we have a meeting.
Dr. Newbert on?
Yeah, I'm on. Hi, Chairman. How
We
you
have a
doing?
meeting right before the REMAC meeting.
Okay,
Next month.
yeah, there'll be a Wednesday, October 4th. There'll be 3 meetings. For those that are on the RSI committee at 12:30, there will be an RSI committee meeting headed by Dr. Newbert and Dave. At 1:30, once again, there will be a meeting of the council and REMAC for the crew force for an update on where crew force stands and once again how the implementation is going and how it will be rolled out within the county. And then the REMAC meeting will be at 2:15 here as a regular REMAC meeting. All those meetings will once again be in this room on Wednesday, October 4th.
Chairman Mackey, can you hear me okay?
As you said, the BLSI Gel program is moving along, and I think about 20 agencies or close to 20 involved in that. Quite a few. And once again, Dr. Newbert is heading up the training and stuff with that, along with the staff at the FBA. The eBridge communication project,
Just 2 more things. One was, again, some requests were made to the general devices team regarding notifications. That's going to be brought up at the REMAC discussion. And because there are items that affect flow and operations. And the second thing is just thinking out loud to improve equity of care to our patients. I asked eBridge to provide to us some information about how we could put a translation service on eBridge school like they have in Suffolk County. So we're going to be scheduling a meeting with them for that. I don't know if there's going to be an additional cost. I have no idea what it entails. So more to come, and we'll report it out at the BMAC meeting. But that's something I want to add, to make sure that everybody airport understand that. That's it.
Okay.
Talk about it good enough.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland.
Chairman Mackey, can you hear me okay?
All right, so under unfinished business, once again, we had discussed, once again, just developing a regional criteria form for the future EMS awards. As we said earlier, the state awards that we give out are very rigid in context. When we give them out, once again, it has to be over a long period of time. There's no individual awards for personal sacrifice, but once again, for excellence in a particular call. So we're looking more at a regional approach to go along with the state. We sent up quite a few awards this year for recognition throughout the state. But on a regional level, once again, we're looking at the possibility of creating awards to go out for individual calls and the individual criteria, such as cardiac arrests and traumas and those type of things, on an individual basis or on an agency type award to be given to an agency and stuff that performs exemplary on individual calls and stuff with that. So we'll continue to look at that. We're working once again with the public education as well as the REMSCO Awards Committee to try and develop that. So with that, one thing I will bring up on the unfinished business, and I brought it up under the executive, I failed to mention it under my report and stuff. I have, when I came into this 2 years ago, I wasn't quite sure what I was getting myself into, moving up from treasurer to chairman. And in consultation with other members of the executive board and with the executive council prior to the meeting and stuff, I have offered to once again stay on at the council's pleasure for one additional year, not to extend past that because I'm divorced after that. When I signed up, once again, I wasn't quite sure. When my wife found out, I was really not sure. But I think we've made significant progress over the past couple of years and to stabilize the program agency as well as the council. I've discussed with Dave, and I will once again accept nomination for one additional year, and then I will move on. There are some accomplishments that I still want to tackle, including once again getting the CMS memorial dedicated to all of the people that have sacrificed so much of the EMS with that, and once again making sure that we have a solid foundation and stuff going forward, both for the program agency and for the council. So I will bring that up once again. I bring that to you. That's really up to you on that, but I can assure you that December 23rd, I'm sorry, this December 31st of 24 will be my going out. All right. So, yes.
I have one more comment.
Yes.
I'm not running anywhere. There is obviously capacity is an issue. What are the plans on recruitment or having a committee for recruiting ideas? There's so many activities that go on in the community.
That was one of the things that, once again, I was bringing up on the new business was once again, the approval of a disaster preparedness, recruitment and retention subcommittee, as well as an EMS memorial subcommittee for anybody that wants to once again get involved in that. I've had a couple of people that have been interested in that. I'm certainly interested. And as I said, under the state, they hopefully will be pushing out shortly the additional funding and stuff to be able to do that. I know for those that don't know, the 6th Battalion is running a recruitment and retention drive this Saturday at the Wantor train station for the 6th Battalion departments from, I believe, 11 to 1. If anybody is interested in coming down and supporting them and trying to assist with the recruiting, we're trying to get the recruiting materials and stuff up through the fire marshal's office and all, but I'd like to, once again, I know you had mentioned, once again, helping to once again get that recruitment, and want to Levittown Volunteer Ambulance Corps also. Anybody else that is interested, please email us for both committees, whether it be the EMS Memorial Committee, if you're interested in, we're looking at a design. And once again, the funding and, being able to get the sponsorship and stuff for that. And also, the recruitment and retention. We certainly do need that, for our human resources. But thank you very much. Anything else under unfinished business? New business, once again, the approval of the council expenditures from our last meeting on June 4th through today.
Make a motion.
A motion to approve the expenditures, as Dave outlined them. Once again, second. Any questions? All in favor? So ordered. All right. Wilson Park, service level change from EMT paramedic to AEMT level.
Make a motion.
Motion, second. Questions? All in favor? Nominations. Barry, would you like to?
Okay.
Take the,
Open nominations for chairman, currently Chuck Mackey.
Nominate Chuck Mackey.
Second.
One question before he changes his mind.
Yeah. Nomination for vice chairman, currently Dave Caldor.
Nominate.
Second.
And nomination for treasurer secretary, Tom Devaney is current.
Motion made.
Second.
I believe that's it.
are there any other nominations out there? Good. We'll close the nominations. Elections will be at the November meeting. It's going to be held here. No, it's not going to be here. Not sure where that, to be determined where that. And last.
Make sure there's no irregularities. in the voting machines.
Huh?
Make sure there's no irregularities. in the voting machines.
Committee was coming
Yeah.
down.
Gonna have you count the
And
ballots.
considering, like to open it up. Anybody have any comments or suggestions or anything involving the disaster preparedness plan that was presented by the committee at the August 25th meeting, or once again, as was presented here today. As I said, this is just an adoption process for us to get it into the council policies and procedures. And then from there, once again, to get it to the county to be presented into the county emergency management plan with that.
Chuck, I apologize in advance email and ready for a suggestion. But I'm gonna send an email, but just bring up for everybody. Page 11 references that EAB may not be aware of an MCI incident based on ambulance response matrix. If we could add into that, just to ensure they are notified, this way it doesn't leave off that they may not be aware of it. Then put ensure if there is notification made to medical control or EAB, the part on receiving.
I believe we did
That, thanks for your comment. Can I-
Go ahead, go.
Yeah.
I'll also email,
Thanks for your comment. So what you're looking at on page 11 is the situation part of the plan, which says this is our current situation. And a little further on, when we talked about the notification part of the plan, it requires any dispatch center that becomes alerted to an MCI to notify the other relevant dispatch centers. So if PD gets it, they're notifying Firecom, Medcom. If Firecom gets it, they're notifying CB, et cetera. So part of this is anybody's detecting an MCI, public, private, volunteer, whomever, is flagging to everybody so that everyone has situational awareness. Yeah, I agree with your point.
that's on page 18. 18 together.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments?
That's why it needs to be on paper.
I make a motion to accept it.
Denied.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor to accept the disaster preparedness plan that was presented by the committee for adoption into the policies and procedures of the REMSCO Council, and then forwarded on to Nassau County for adoption into their county emergency management plan. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote, so now that we have a quorum and stuff, just for the record.
James Amelia,
Motion to accept the preparedness plan and stuff. Yes,
Charles Mackey,
yes.
Francis DeBovis,
Yes.
Barry Rigney,
Yes.
James Knights.
Yes.
Donald Hudson,
Yes.
Ed Waldron,
Yes.
Frank Chester,
Yes.
Joseph Paletta.
Yes.
Nancy Fisher.
Yes.
Grace Tang,
Yes.
David Reed,
Yes.
David Caldor is yes, Kevin O'Hara,
Yes.
that's unanimous.
Congratulations.
Good job, guys. Very good.
Thank you to the committee and stuff. They were hard work. And not go unnoticed and stuff on this. Last thing on the new business, just once again, motion to create two subcommittees, one for EMS recruitment as well as one for an EMS memorial. Motion made. All right, and once again, I will be chairman and stuff on that. Have a second? Create those subcommittees. Okay, all in favor?
Yep.
Okay. Appointments to the council, once again. Once again, welcome Kevin Mackey, once again, as the alternate for Barry Rigney from the fire service. Welcome. And anything under the good of the council? Let me have it. All right, so with that, once again, our next scheduled REMSCO council meeting will be Wednesday, November 1st. That location will be determined once again at a future date. I will get it out. The next REMAC meeting will be October 4th at the Nassau County Public Safety Center here at 2:15. Previous to that will be a council meeting for once again the crew force implementation to once again bring it to the council as well as to the REMAC committee with that. So I'll call for a meeting adjournment.
Adjourn.
Good. In favor? Good, thank you all for coming.
Hold on, catch this.
Thank you, sir. Really good. Excellent. Excellent.